Oh baby, it's here. The best time of the sports year. If you didn't know, I'm a rapper. I'm just kidding. But it was an insane week in football. College and the NFL. MLB playoffs start tonight. Both hockey and NBA have started their preseason. I'm not going to touch on those at all just because they're like 1 or 2 games in. But a lot to look forward to. I don't even know where to start. I could start with Urban Meyer. I could start with Tom Brady's return. We're going to cover both of those things. I could start with the MLB playoffs. I think I'm going to start with college football, though, because who doesn't love college football? What a week in college football. So many upsets, so many good games. Penn State won 24-0. Phenomenal defensive performance. The offense looked a little shaky, but Penn State only allowed like 2 drives where they got into scoring position, and one ended up on a blocked field goal. The other one, they went for it on 4th down. I'm confident heading into this week against Iowa, as I feel like I should be. But Penn State wasn't even the biggest deal. That wasn't even the most shocking thing. The most shocking thing had to be that 1, 2, 3, 4 top 10 teams lost this week. Oregon, they were down 17-7 at halftime, came back, and then let Stanford come back because of 4 procedure penalties. You can't do that if you want to be a playoff team and win a national title. They need to clean that up because I don't think they're invincible in the Pac-12. I think that was shown this week. They look shaky on offense. They look shaky on defense. They let Stanford drive down the field with 1 timeout and 97 seconds left in the game. They had to go 87 yards, and they let them go. They gave them a free untimed down. Too many mistakes. A lot of it can be cleaned up. So I'm not counting Oregon out. If they win the Pac-12, because Penn State or Iowa has to lose. Well, I'm looking at last week, so I'm going to look at this week's rankings. Penn 1, 2, 3, 4 top 5 of the top 10 teams right now. 5 of the top 10 teams have to lose at least 1 game just because they play somebody else in there. So they're gonna have their shot to get back in. I still think the Big Ten, Georgia and Alabama, and either Cincinnati, Oklahoma, or Oregon. That's what I would say. That would be my playoff prediction. Alabama and Georgia, as long as there's no. I don't see either of them losing other than to each other. Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State, or Iowa, whoever wins the Big Ten. Cincinnati, Oklahoma, or Oregon. I think if Cincinnati goes undefeated, they're going to get in. I made my predictions last week, and I'm going to stick by them. Alabama, Penn State, Georgia, Cincinnati. Those are my top 4 right there. Well, I had Oregon, but okay, I'm not sticking by it then. I'm switching it, all right? But speaking of Cincinnati, what a win. They needed that game. They needed to prove that they can handle a top team, and they took care of Notre Dame in Notre Dame. And they went out there and they beat them. And they looked good doing it. They controlled that game from start to finish, offensively, defensively. Desmond Ridder right now is my Heisman favorite. Especially after Matt Corral's unimpressive performance. Desmond Ridder is my Heisman favorite. Here's the reason behind that. If you switch Bryce Young and Desmond Ridder, Alabama does just as well. I cannot guarantee that Cincinnati will be doing just as well. Desmond Ridder is taking a bunch of 3-star recruits from the state of Ohio and making them look like studs. And those, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe there's obviously some offensive studs. Pierce is a stud. Ford is a stud. But I don't think they'd be looking this good if you would switch Bryce Young and Desmond Ridder. I think right now, Bryce Young and Desmond Ridder have to be your 1-2. Matt Corral probably is the best quarterback in the country, but you don't go out there and look that bad against Alabama. I know it's Alabama, but you don't go out there and lose a game that bad and expect to stay in the Heisman race. They got ran up and down the field. What was the score of that game? Let me find it. I don't know the exact score. Clemson won this week. That was shocking. They took a fumble inside the 30-yard line for them to win, but yeah, Clemson. Me and Mike talked about it last week. They just didn't look good. 42-21. 2 garbage time touchdowns. Bryce Young looked good too. 20 for 26, 241 yards and 2 touchdowns. But we see this. There's always who's going to be the Alabama Heisman candidate this year? They had 2 last year. They had one the year before. I can't remember a time where there wasn't an Alabama player in Heisman contention, much less a quarterback, unless their best player was a running back. I feel like every year they have one. I feel like they're going to continue to have one. And when you're the best team in the country year in and year out, you have the right to do that. No, I'm not taking anything away from Bryce Young. But what I'm saying is you got to look at the surroundings that Desmond Ridder has compared to Bryce Young. There's a lot more NFL guys on Alabama than there is on Cincinnati. That's why I'm taking Desmond Ridder. But other scores. Iowa shellacked Maryland. Made Tua's brother throw 5 picks. And he looked good. He was up there in the Heisman race. I don't need more. They put up 31 points in the second quarter. They were down 7-0 and 7-3 at the end of the first, and they put up 31 in the second quarter. I'm nervous. But I definitely think that Penn State looked just as good. Penn State's defense looked amazing. I mean, we're talking about an Indiana team that was top 15 in the country last year, who's supposed to have a top 2 quarterback in the Big Ten. They made him look like a Pop Warner team out there. Their offense struggled at times, but it's the Big Ten. You're going to face some really tough defenses. And Penn State, they faced 2 tough teams already. They faced Wisconsin. I know everyone's bashing on Wisconsin right now. Wisconsin's 3 losses that they have are to teams with a combined 1 loss, and the only loss was to a top 5 team in the country. Wisconsin's not as bad as people are making it out to be. They don't have a great quarterback. I don't think Graham Mertz is great. I didn't really think he was great heading into this year. So I'm really excited. That's my game of the week. All around sports. MLB playoffs, NFL, NBA preseason, NHL preseason, college football. The game of the week that everyone's eyes should be on, and my eyes are definitely going to be on, is Penn State and Iowa. It's going to be a great game, and I cannot wait. And I could come on happy as a dandy, celebrating here next week, or I could come on upset and very sad. But if there's a game that if Penn State has to lose a game, I think I've said this before, I want it to be Iowa, because that's the only team that they're going to get a second chance at. And yeah, that's the only team they're going to get a second chance at. That's the main reason why. And I think Iowa's the best team on their schedule. I don't know why I had that massive brain fart there. That was weird. Arkansas, that's another team. That's a team that looked like a Pop Warner team. And I think that's just bad news for Texas and Oklahoma, because Arkansas looked good this year. But if Georgia's the powerhouse that they are, and they're not even the best team in their conference, Texas and Oklahoma might have made a mistake. Now, obviously, it was money reasons. Obviously that was a guarantee that it's going to be a 12-team playoff. Even though they're delaying it for some reason, just make it happen. Just say next year it's a 12-team playoff, which helps me out as a Penn State fan, because then you can be a 1 or 2 loss second in your division, which is arguably the best division in college football, and make the playoff. Penn State's has been a top 12 team, I think, 4 of the last 6 years. That's 4 years we would have made the playoffs. And see, that's my thing, is it helps teams like Penn State and like a Florida, like a team like Kentucky or an Auburn or an LSU, or even sometimes in Alabama, who is the second or third best team in their division, but still a really good team, gives them a shot to win a national title. And it's going to help a team like Cincinnati, even though I think Cincinnati is moving to the Big 12, though. I didn't even think of that. Cincinnati, BYU, Utah State, all moving to the Big 12. A&M lost again to Mississippi State. A&M's 0-2 in Big 10 SEC play. I remember I was hearing rumors that they were supposed to take down Alabama this year. I don't think that's going to happen. CJ Stroud looked good. Rutgers, who had lost 2 tough games back-to-back, played Michigan tough as can be. As tough as Michigan's been played this year. And they lost by 39 points to Ohio State. Ohio State's looking scary. I still think I don't think they're as good as Penn State or Iowa, but I think they can definitely beat either of them, because it's Ohio State. It's the Ohio State culture. Even if they're not better than you, they can give you a run for their money. They weren't better than Clemson last year, and they beat Clemson. That's how Ohio State is. Ohio State is the best team in the Big Ten of all time. Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. Coastal Carolina stays undefeated, winning 59-6 over UL Monroe. Sorry. Yeah, people always hear this and just don't say, "Oh, good job." No, they want to point out my mispronounced. Isn't that ironic? I can't even I can't. Oh my god. Moving on. Baylor loses 24-14 to Oklahoma State. I think people are sleeping on Oklahoma State. If Oklahoma State wins the Big 12 and goes undefeated, they won a Power 5 undefeated. I think that they got hurt because they weren't expected to be this good. And neither was Baylor. It was supposed to be Texas and Oklahoma, and it very well could be. I'm just going to show you a clip right now. The play Bo Nix made might have been one of the greatest quarterback plays I've ever seen. Up there with some of the throws that Pat Mahomes put on target in the Super Bowl last year.
Nix trying to make magic. Still on his feet and then chucks it to the end zone for a touchdown to Tyler Fromm. Somehow, some way, it was the right way for Bo Nix.
That was just insane. I thought he was down at least 4 times on that play. Somehow made the throw, scored a touchdown. Auburn's got to be in that mix too. There's a lot of teams that are lower in the rankings that you have to think about. They still have a shot at the playoff. If Auburn wins out and beats both Georgia and Alabama, and their only loss is to a top 4 team in the country in Penn State, they're going to get in. I mean, I think almost every year whoever wins the SEC is going to get in. And usually whoever wins the Big Ten is going to get in. The other 3 kind of battle for the last 2 spots, or unless they put 2 teams in. I think this is going to be an interesting year because I think we're only going to see 2 conference champions get in. I think the Big 12, the ACC already ate itself alive. The Big 12 is going to eat itself alive, and I think the Pac-12 is going to eat itself alive as well. I think it's going to be the winner of the Big 10, the SEC, the group of 5 teams, Cincinnati, and Georgia or Alabama, whoever doesn't win the conference. Yeah, it was nuts. A lot of good games coming up this week, other than the Penn State game. But obviously, that's the biggest game so far. That's the one that everyone's eye is going to be on. Obviously, we all know Temple is going to beat Cincinnati. If Temple beats Cincinnati, I'm going to go insane. That'll be awesome. Go Owls, baby. Texas and Oklahoma, that was the other one. The Red River rivalry. That's going to be a big game because this is a game Oklahoma can lose. And this is going to be a game that's going to push Texas back up into that college football playoff conversation. They're going to need this one. I mean, I think Oklahoma's going to somehow pull it off. I want to see Texas win just because I don't think Oklahoma is necessarily a top 4 team in the country. But if they win out, they're going to get in. As they should, but Ohio State, Maryland. I'm cheering for Maryland, obviously. But I think Ohio State's going to run them through the water. Tua's brother just didn't look good. Michigan State, Rutgers. I'm still saying, watch out for Rutgers. We all know I'm high on Michigan State. We all know I'm high on Michigan State for the future. But Rutgers has been playing some good teams tough this year. They're not the same Rutgers that goes 2-10 and comes last in the Big Ten anymore. They're putting some teams on notice, even if they're not winning. Arkansas, Ole Miss. 2 teams that were college football playoff hopefuls who just aren't going to find their way in. They ran into the 2 best teams in the country. I think they're both going to be recovering from their their battle scars. I want to see our Ole Miss win. I want to see him play very well because I like Matt Corral. I just don't think it's possible for him to recover and win the Heisman. Florida versus the winners of the Toilet Bowl, Vanderbilt. What was the score of that game? 30-28 on a last-second field goal against UConn. I think Vanderbilt and UConn should play every year because they are the two worst Power 5 teams. Let them play every year. Let them go out to see who the toilet kings are. Although Colorado State did lose to Vanderbilt, but still, I mean, Vanderbilt's usually and UConn are known to be the two worst Power 5 teams. Not Power 5, FCS teams. FBS. Jesus. Georgia and Auburn. I would like to see Auburn win because I want to see Penn State. I want to see all the teams Penn State beats that aren't already ahead of them win. Because it boosts their stock. If Auburn goes out there and beats Georgia, that'll also make me feel better heading into the potential shot at going to the playoffs. Because if Auburn can beat Georgia and we beat Auburn, that means that we can at least play Georgia tough. Or should play Georgia tough. That's about the last. I want to talk about Kentucky. Will Levis, the Penn State boy himself. Oh, Will, why didn't you stay? I get it why you left. I mean, Kentucky's undefeated. You know where I'm going with this. Anybody who's undefeated in a Power 5 team, I'm not counting out of the playoff picture. A lot of the one-loss teams I'm not going to count off the playoff picture, especially when they still haven't played the tougher team in their conference. Don't sleep on Kentucky just yet. Now, do I think Kentucky gets in? No. I'm sleeping on them, but I'm telling you not to. All right, that's going to about wrap it up for college football. Let's hop over to the NFL. Oh, baby, what a week. We'll start off with, let's go through my picks this week. Sorry, I'm switching over from college football to the NFL. It was an interesting week, especially with Brady's return. That was a great game. All right, we'll start Jaguars, Bengals. I covered this a bit. I picked the Bengals. That was a really good game. Eagles, Chiefs. I picked the Chiefs. I expected it. I wish the Eagles didn't tease me as much. They kind of hung around with the Chiefs the entire game and never went away until the very end. I mean, the defense didn't look great. Hurts looked okay. He did have 2 touchdowns, but one of them was in garbage time. He's thrown 3 garbage time touchdowns this year, so he pads his stats a little bit. He's an amazing fantasy quarterback. He's never scored a game under 20 fantasy points. But I expected the Eagles to be this bad this year. I knew it was kind of a rebuild. It's the first of a rebuilding year. So I kind of expected this out of them. But after the way they looked in that Falcons game and hung around with the 49ers, I kind of expected more. So they got the Panthers this week. I want them to win, but if they lose, at least I'll know, okay, it's over. We're not going to be good this year. I don't like when they tease me like that. They're going to probably win and tease me. I'm probably going to pick them too just because I'm a homer sometimes. But I'm not mad about the game. The Eagles didn't do the one thing that you do to beat the Chiefs, and that's limit Tyreek Hill. And it's not easy. I don't. When I say like limit Tyreek Hill, I don't expect it to happen. But I'm saying if you want to win, that's how you do it. You have to limit Tyreek Hill because you can't. Travis Kelce is such a unique player. You can't limit him. Let Kelce get his. Don't let Tyreek Hill get these big plays and these 11 catches for about 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. But if you have him on your fantasy team, it's nice. Washington football team takes down the Falcons. I didn't really pay attention to that game. I saw that it was the high-scoring game, and Washington's defense, who is supposed to be a top 5 defense in the league, it looks like a bottom 5 defense in the league to me. They just don't look good. Taylor Heinicke looks good. Terry McLaurin looked good, another player on my fantasy team. I still think that they're going to hang around the division. I think they're the only team in the division that can compete with Dallas. But I don't think they're going to win. I think Dallas is going to win this division. I think it's over. Bills, Texans. I mean, who played quarterback for the Texans is what I want to know. I think it was Davis Mills. Either way, they got They got what? Yeah, Davis Mills, 4 picks, 87 yards. Tyrod Taylor will be starting once he gets back. We all know that. I mean, the Bills' defense, though, looks like the best defense in the league. I think that's their... They've shut out 2 teams this year. Their last 3 games, they are outscoring their opponents. Their opponents are scoring 21 points. They're allowing 21 points a game the last 3 games. I have to do the math with theirs. Bear with me. 118 to 21. That is insane. Bills look scary. The Bills are a top 3 team in the league right now. I would say the Cardinals, Rams, and the Bills. I mean, you don't shut 2 teams out that much. You don't shut 2 teams out and outscore your opponents 118-21 and not be a top 3 team in the league. Bears beat the Lions. The Bears switched their play caller to Bill Lazor again. I think that helped them a lot. From what I saw, they looked a little bit more creative on offense. Justin Fields looked better. I didn't see a lot out of him, but he looked better. I think Justin Fields just needs to develop. I think the only thing that's going to hurt his confidence is Andy Dalton's going to start when he comes back. I think if the Bears don't make the playoffs, Matt Nagy's gone. He probably should be too. But all in all, they didn't look bad. They didn't look great. Bears are a weird team, man. They're always just like there. Like they're the last few years except for 2018 when they had that really good season, they're kind of just been there. Like, oh, they're all right. They're all right. I mean, they had those few bad years after Cutler left, but I just feel like even last year, like they were just there. They never were like seemed bad. They started off 5-0, then lost 6 straight, then won 3 straight, and then lost 2 straight or something like that. And they ended up making the playoffs. I think they could do the same thing this year. I think the Bears could be a team that is just there and sneaks into the playoffs. They have a very good running back. He's hurt, though. That's going to hurt their offense. Darnell Mooney looks good. Their defense looks decent. Panthers, Cowboys. I picked the Panthers just because I thought, the Panthers were 3-0. They had a top 3 defense in the league. Not anymore. Dak Prescott looked good. Zeke Elliott looked good. I think, actually, Sam Darnold looked better than Dak. Had a better game than Dak Prescott, but Dak Prescott still looked good. The Cowboys are going to win the division. It's going to happen. I still don't have Zeke in my top 5 for MVP candidates. At least I don't think I do. I haven't finished the list yet. But, if Zeke runs the ball like this, the Cowboys are going to be their defense looks good. Trevon Diggs looks amazing. The Cowboys look like a scary team. They hung around with the Bucks. They beat a 3-1 Chargers team. They put up 41 points against the Eagles. They beat a 3-0 Panthers team. What else do you ask from them? There's nothing you can ask from them. This was a game for the Cowboys and Panthers. Whoever won, they were going to prove something because they both were kind of like, let's see what you can do. And the Cowboys proved it. And I'm not afraid to sit here and afraid to admit the Cowboys proved it. Cowboys proved that they are a top, I wouldn't say a top team in the league, but they are a playoff team, and they can hang around with anybody. More power to them. Go Eagles. Okay, the Colts-Dolphins. I literally said the Colts were going to win, and people were like, oh, the Colts, they're not going to win. What are you talking about? They're not that good. They're 0-3. Yeah, they also played 3 tough teams. 3 good teams. I expected this. I expected the Dolphins' offense to look flat. They scored 2 garbage time touchdowns. Offense looked flat, especially with Jacoby Brissett. Everyone wants to bash on Tua. They're 1-0 with Tua. In the game that Tua gets hurt, they haven't won since. He's better than Jacoby Brissett. Carson Wentz is better than Jacoby Brissett. I literally don't know what was so shocking about that pick. I had multiple people what are you doing picking the Colts over the Dolphins? They're a better team. Heading into this week, the Colts were a better team than the Dolphins. The Dolphins would have been 0-3 too. If the Colts had the Dolphins schedule, they would have been 2-1. heading into this week. The Colts would be 3-1 right now, but they don't. They have the Colts schedule. They're 1-3. I think that they're going to be right up there for the playoffs with the Titans. Browns, Vikings. The Browns have the best front office and coaching staff they've had since the Bill Belichick days. Early 2000s, late 90s. Or, no, not early 2000s. Since, like, the 90s. And the early 2000s. They made the playoffs a couple times. Baker Mayfield didn't look great, but the Browns did. 100 yards for Nick Chubb. Good game out of the backfield for Kareem Hunt. I mean, the Vikings, they put up 7 points, and they played pretty good defense against the Browns. I don't think the Vikings are a bad team. I've said this. I just think the Vikings are a victim of a tough schedule. I think they'll bounce back and win their next two against the Lions and the Panthers, but I just don't think that they're a great football team. I'm sorry, I don't think they're a bad football team. I think they just have a tough schedule. Next game, it gets me a little upset because I picked the Saints in my survival pool, and they lost to the Giants. They let the Giants score 17 straight on them to lose the game. They were 21-10 and they lost. What are you doing? How do you let the Giants... You guys just beat the Patriots, who are better than Giants. Like, I feel like every other week we get a good Saints team and a bad Saints team. That's why I predicted them to go 9-8 this year, 8-9. But I expect them to beat the Giants. How do you beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers by 35 when you're not home, and then you go out there in your first game back in your stadium after what just happened in New Orleans, and you go out there and you lose in overtime to the Giants? By the way, Jabril Peppers with the quote of the weekend. Take a listen. That was funny. That made me smile, even though I was in pain because the Eagles just lost. And I just got knocked out of my survival pool, which I was feeling super confident about this pick. And I kind of had my games planned out on what I was going to pick. And now I can't even do it because of you, Saints. Thanks. Another New York team winning in overtime. Jets. The goddamn Jets. 27-24. Zach Wilson looked good. I think the Jets just need to get a little mojo. Like, I know the Jets are the Jets, and I know Zach Wilson looked bad, but Robert Saleh is going to be a good coach. Zach Wilson's going to be is going to be a pretty good quarterback. I was more shocked about the Titans. Like, it didn't make sense. Derrick Henry had 33 carries and 157 yards. Ryan Tannehill had 209. Like, I don't know how they lost that game. Bad defense, but we expected that. Next game is the game I said that for the Cardinals to beat one of the top NFL teams, Kyler Murray is going to have to look more composed, and if he does, he's going to have an MVP season. Kyler Murray looked more composed. He wasn't playing as wild against the Rams. What did he do? They went out there and beat the Rams by 17 in Los Angeles. I said last week Kyler Murray was the MVP. A lot of people looked at me sideways. Not a lot of people. When I say a lot of people, I mean like 3. There's like 12 people that watch this podcast. But Kyler Murray, he's your league MVP right now. Baby Yoda, baby. Seahawks 49ers. For the 49ers having to play a rookie who didn't expect to play this game and not having their kicker, they looked pretty good. They didn't have their kicker. They missed a field goal and an extra point. They had to throw Trey Lance into the fire mid-game. I mean, you're playing a rivalry game. Couldn't expect much more from you. I'm not disappointed with them. I mean, I think, like I said, the 49ers suffer from the fact that they're in the toughest division of football. They're going to lose next week. They're going to have a tough game against the Colts. They should beat the Bears. They're going to lose to the Cardinals. They're going to lose to the Rams. He's got a tough schedule. And also, I got to see how good Trey Lance is. Trey Lance is the one quarterback I didn't pay a lot of attention to leading up to the draft just because, I don't know if you know, I have a personal bias with North Dakota State quarterbacks. Take a guess why. But, yeah, I mean, they didn't look bad. Seahawks just looked better. Ravens, Broncos. This is why I was wrong. I said the Ravens were going to lose to the Broncos. I said the Broncos have the best defense in the league, and I still think the Broncos have one of the best defenses in the league. But, man, Lamar Jackson ate him up. Also, let's calm down on hating on the Harbaugh and the Ravens for running the ball. They didn't go score a touchdown. They got their 3 yards and went down. Who cares? It was 3 yards. Oh, sportsmanship. They wanted a record they clearly take pride in. I would have done the same. I have no distaste towards the Ravens for that. Anybody who doesn't have a competitive fire. They wanted those 3 yards because they wanted to celebrate the fact that they can continue their record. They didn't. If they would have ran and scored a touchdown after getting those 3 yards, I would have completely understand. But they didn't. They got the 3 yards and went down. What are you crying about? What are you crying about? What are you crying about? They didn't do anything. Steelers-Packers. I don't think Steelers are a playoff team. Ben should have retired, but he didn't. It sucks. I mean, Steelers fans, they're gonna be back. Stop. Let's not. It's the Steelers. Come on. You guys get to go through a rough patch. Oh, we didn't win a Super Bowl. Just shut up. Try being an Eagles, or a Browns, or a Lions, or a Bears fan. Try that, huh? Miss me with that. Aaron Rodgers looked good again. This was a funny clip though. Aaron Rodgers trying to quick start.
Oh, they whistle it dead. Timeout, I guess. It was a flag, but now they signal a timeout by Pittsburgh.
Prior to the ball being snapped, first charge timeout, Pittsburgh.
I tell
Timeout
you,
on the field.
Rodgers is smiling because he got Pittsburgh, but Mike Tomlin's been around the block.
Listen, people bash on Mike Tomlin. I like Mike Tomlin. And I was talking to my roommate the other night about Aaron Rodgers. I don't dislike Aaron Rodgers. I don't like Aaron Rodgers. I have no real opinion on Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is a great competitor, and he is a all-time great and top 3 most talented quarterback of all time. But he's not my favorite. He's not my least favorite. He's kind of in the middle for me. But he looked good. Packers look good. I still think he threw that first game. Prove me wrong. Last night's game. The Raiders once again went down multiple scores and tried to make a comeback. They just couldn't do it. Austin Eckler, the hero of 2 of my fantasy leagues, leading the way to victory as I went 4-1 this week. Oh, for my family league, am I just going to do the same thing as I did last year? Okay, I'm going to stop talking before I lose. The Raiders just did a Raiders thing. Hunter Renfrow, play of the year. Hunter Renfrow's a beast. I've known that since he was at Clemson. I really started to believe that when he went to the Raiders and they were on Hard Knocks. And hearing John Gruden talk about him made me feel awesome. But I don't think the Raiders are in a bad spot. But what I'll say is, what did I say about the Raiders? I said that they cannot sit here and play this comeback football all the time. And I'm not going to put 100% of my marbles into the Raiders until they can prove it to me, because what they do is they go and they start off 3-1, 4-2, then they end up going 6-4 and on pace to make the playoffs, and then they end up ending the season at 7-9. I'm not putting my marble on the Raiders yet. I have to see a little bit more out of them. They didn't look horrible yesterday. They didn't look great. Bucks Patriots game of the week. Brady not only breaks the NFL record for most passing yards, which he will now keep because Breeze is retired, obviously. Becomes only the 4th quarterback of all time to beat all 32 NFL teams. Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, and Drew Brees are the other 3. He goes into New England, and now he will hold over Bill Belichick's head forever that he beat him and Bill didn't. But can we stop with the Belichick made Brady now? I feel like that should have stopped when he won a Super Bowl. Should have never been a thing, and I don't think Brady made Belichick. I think we have one of the greatest coaches of all time, if not the greatest, and the greatest quarterback of all time happened to be together, and they did put together the greatest dynasty that we might have seen in sports history. 6 Super Bowls in 20 years, 9 appearances. What else do you want? I just don't know why people have to constantly, I don't think people don't appreciate greatness. They do the same thing with LeBron. Stop hating on him and just witness the greatness and be okay with it. Like, it's okay to sit there and have a debate with somebody, but when you say, oh, LeBron isn't a top 5 player, or Brady's not the greatest of all time, Belichick made him, or, la-di-da-da. Greatness is success, and Brady is the most successful. He is the greatest. Is Brady the most talented quarterback ever? Hell no. But he's the greatest. Him and Bill Belichick happened to be put together. It was fate. They took a bad franchise and made them arguably the best franchise ever. What else can you ask? Like, what else is there? That is not a one-man show. That was 2 or 3 people, including Robert Kraft, who came together and made the greatest dynasty in sports history. Why can't we just sit there and respect that? All right. Time for the MLB playoff predictions. All right, and we are back. Sorry about that. I had to set up the screen recording thing I got, app I got to be able to pick these, to put my bracket, so I'm able to pick these games. So let's start off. Let's just get going. Yankees, Red Sox, the game that is on tonight. It starts in 2 hours, so this will be up after the game, so we'll know how I did already. Listen, it's going to be a great game. Greatest rivalry in sports. But I'm taking the Yankees. I'm taking the Yankees because we got playoff Garrett Cole. 2.68 playoff ERA. Well above a good one. His xFIP, 3.36. That's above the good FIP range. A good range for your FIP. That's well above a good range for your xFIP. His FIP, 3.16. Also well above the good range of a FIP. He has great playoff numbers. It's going to continue tonight. Yankees take down the Red Sox. Other wild card game, I'm taking the Dodgers over the Cardinals just because I think the Dodgers are the second best team in baseball, if not the best. I don't see them losing a 1-game series. I think it's going to be tough, though, over the Cardinals. Actually, you know what? Nah, give me the Dodgers. Give me the Dodgers. It's too risky of a pick. Then we'll go up Yankees, Rays. This is a tough one. I want to say the Rays. And I'm going to say the Rays. I'm going to say the Rays in 5 games. I think the thing with the Rays is the Rays have such a good young team. My thing with the Yankees is they're not the same Yankees team that they used to be. I don't think they can take the Rays in 5 games. I don't. I could be. If I'm wrong, I won't be shocked. This Astros, White Sox. Come on. White Sox play in the worst division in baseball. Give me the Astros in 3 games. Astros probably have the best team in the AL. Dodgers, Giants. If you can't repeat, don't do it a first time. Give me the Dodgers, it's 5. I think it's going to be a great series. Gonna go down to the wire. I think the experience of the Dodgers is going to come into play, and that is why they're going to take care of the Giants in 5 games. Braves, Brewers in 3 games. Come on. Either the Phillies or the Braves were going to get smacked around. I just wanted to see the Phillies get in just to get in. It never was going to be close. The Brewers might have the best rotation in baseball. They have one of the best bullpen pitchers in baseball. Give me the Brewers. Rays, Astros. Ooh. This is tough. I think this goes 7. I think the Astros might have one of the most complete teams I've seen in a long time. I think the Astros are out to prove something. Give me the Astros in 7. I said when I picked them over the Cardinals, I don't see how the Cardinals can beat. I don't see a realistic way of the Cardinals beating the Dodgers. I know the Cardinals have been the hottest team in baseball, but I think that the Dodgers take care of the Brewers in 6 games because I think there's only 2 teams that can beat the Dodgers in the playoffs. The Giants and the Astros. I think the Astros win the World Series in 7 games. The Astros have something to prove because when they won that 2018 World Series against the Dodgers and all the trash can incidents, I don't want the Astros to win. Nobody wants the Astros to win. Oh my god. I just realized I never pressed record on this. Sorry to the YouTube guys. You're going to be seeing my ugly mug and me looking at my phone for my stats. Let's go Astros. Submit my picks. They're asking me all these questions. I'm not doing that. Yeah, well, we have a great weekend of sports coming up. And I'm going to run down all that we got coming up in my Friday episode. Thank you guys for watching episode 4 of the Sports Raid hosted by Cole Thompson. Whether you're watching on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, or YouTube, thank you. Have a great rest of your night. Go Birds.